Welcome to this year's presentation about your company's retirement plan, brought to you by Cox Global Associates. Today, we'll give a brief introduction about our firm and the services we provide your company, why you should invest in the firm's retirement plan, how to select your investments, how to create a financial plan, and what are some of the fees associated with your 401k account. Cox Global Associates is a financial advisory firm here in Katy, Texas. Don Cox is our chairman and CEO. He founded Cox Global in 1990, and he's an active member in the Katy community. Cody Cox is president of Cox Global. He's been with Cox Global since 2012, and he's the head of our retirement plans. Jennifer Schneider joined Cox Global in 2019 and oversees the firm's communications and marketing. Now let's get to the good stuff and start with finding out the top 3 reasons you should begin investing in your company's 401k plan. What your 401k is not. Your retirement plan account is not meant to be a savings account that you dip into when you have unforeseen expenses. Your 401k plan account is not a pension plan. Where with a pension plan, you don't need to contribute, your company will do that on your behalf. Not all 401k plans are profit sharing plans, meaning the company is not required to contribute profits from the business into your retirement account, but some may choose to do so. In 2023, there's a contribution limit of $22,500. In 2024, that will go up to $23,000. Let's look at this example of 2 people who are saving for retirement. First, we have someone who starts at the age of 18. They're saving at an annual rate of $3,000 a year, and they're earning 8% growth on their investments. This is after fees. The 18-year-old saves $3,000 a year until they hit age 30, and then they stop. If they were to leave that alone in their 401k plan and let that grow till age 67, they will have grown their money to $1,145,191. Now let's look at someone who waited to start saving into their plan. They were age 40 when they began saving $3,000 a year and earning the same 8% annual growth rate after fees. They were saving $3,000 a year through age 67. Their money grew to only $308,897. So here we're giving you an example of how important it is to start early. Like we mentioned, $22,500 in 2023 and $23,000 in 2024 is what the IRS allows you to save into your 401k account. It used to be talked about that $1 million was a good goal to have for retirement. But is that going to be enough for today?
$1 million. Sounds like a lot, doesn't it? Well, it is. $1 million $1 bills, stacked one on top of the other, would reach 358 feet, or the height of a 35-story building. It's a lot of money. These days, however, $1 million doesn't buy what it used to. In 1906, the luxury steamliner Hendrick Hudson was built for $1 million, as was the largest private residence in Chicago, the Palmer Mansion, which finished construction in 1885. So what can $1 million buy you now? Well, you couldn't build a steamliner, but you could buy a used yacht. It might not buy you a mansion in Chicago, but you could get a small one-bedroom, one-bathroom apartment in New York City. Or $1 million in a diversified portfolio could help finance part of your retirement, offering both growth and income. Let's see how this works. Say a couple retired at 65 with a $1 million investment portfolio. During their retirement years, from age 65 to 90, the money could generate a $45,000 annual income, increasing at 3% a year, assuming a hypothetical 5% annual rate of return. At age 90, the portfolio would have an ending balance of nearly $500,000. What's more, the portfolio would have generated $1.6 million in total income. Call today and schedule your review.
So you can see that there is an income stream that you want to generate from your investment. You'll need to decide how much that should be. That income goal will determine how much in total you need to save by the time you retire. Let's talk a little bit about the company match. Your match, we think of this as like a bonus. Employers can match a percentage of employee pay up to a certain amount. Matching will only apply to the first $330,000 that you make in 2023. A company match is not the same as profit sharing. It can be in addition to profit sharing. If a plan elects to include a company match, it will match your contribution every pay period. It's not flexible like profit sharing. So let's give an example of how the match is calculated. If you earn $50,000 a year, we want to know what your match will be if you contribute 6% of your pay. The company's match is 50% up to 6% of your pay, or they'll match half of the 6%. The calculation for employee contribution is your pay, $50,000, times 6%, and that's $3,000 per year. So you'll be contributing $115.38 per pay period. And just to remind you, that's pre-tax. And this assumes that you're paid every 2 weeks. The employer contribution rule is that they're going to match the 6%, but they're going to match half of that. So half of your 6% times your $50,000 pay per year is $1,500 per year, or $57.69 per pay period. So when you total that, your company's contribution plus your contribution, you're going to get $173.07 deposited into your 401k account per pay period. We really want to make sure that you're not leaving any money on the table, so be sure that you're going to contribute up to the maximum percentage for the match. So let's talk about how you're going to select investments. There's generally 3 investment options for your portfolio. The first kind are models provided by Cox Global. They vary in risk tolerance. The second are what we call target date funds. So it's a single investment into a fund. Those risk levels will be dependent upon your target date or the date that you want to retire. The third type is a create your own portfolio. When we start building our account and managing it going forward, we want to keep in mind diversification. So we look at this example of 2 different types of meals, and we want to think about which one is the healthiest. Is it meal 1, which has a variety of colors and a variety of vitamins and minerals that it can offer us? Or is it meal 2 that only gives us one option, one color, one protein, no vegetables or variety? So, of course, we lean towards the variety of asset classes in our portfolio. Just like the meal, we want to have a variety of asset classes with unique characteristics to build a healthy portfolio for our retirement. Let's look at this table of models varying from low risk to a high risk portfolio. These would be something similar to what the Cox Global models might provide. So the conservative is our least risky. You'll see in green there, we have a large percentage of this portfolio in bonds, which reduces the risk. There is still some exposure to stocks, both domestic and abroad. Then we'll look at the balanced portfolio. The second one, you start to see some of the bonds decreasing and adding more to equities. Balanced is typically thought of as a 60% stocks, 40% bonds type of strategy. Growth, again, increasing stocks, something closer to an 80% or a 75% stocks, or in a 20 or 25% bonds. And then we have the aggressive portfolio, something with mostly stocks, both domestic and foreign, and then fewer bonds, 10 or 15%. Below these pie charts, you can see that there is a risk and reward number associated with each of them. So we're looking at a time period from 1926 to 2022, and we're averaging those returns. So the average total return for the conservative model was a 5.7%. And then we look all the way to the right to the aggressive portfolio, we can see an average annual return of 9.45%. That sounds really enticing. But let's now look down at the bottom row of this table, what we call historical volatility. That's how we measure risk. You can see it's significantly different between the conservative model at 4.54 and the aggressive model at 15.75. You will need to take on some risk to achieve a higher rate of return. Let's cover a little more detail about Cox Global's allocations using selected mutual funds that we've chosen for you. So we have a conservative model, like I mentioned, a 60 or 50% equity allocation, and then a 40 to 50% fixed income allocation or bond allocation. This is something more similar to what the balanced model was on the previous table. Moderate growth has 80 to 70% stocks or equities and about 20 to 30% bonds. Our growth model will be closer to 90 to 95% stocks and 5 to 10% bonds, with our aggressive model possibly having 100% in stocks. The target date funds. Remember, this is a mix of asset classes, styles, and investment funds combined under one portfolio manager. In theory, the investor never has to change the fund because the investments within it will change over time as you approach your target date or your retirement date. Many fund companies manage their target date funds differently, even with the same target. So here's an example of how the target date funds work. You can see that when you start, if you were to invest in a target date fund with a 40-year target, well, in this case, 45-year target, you can see the fund has a high percentage of stocks, the red being stocks and the yellow being international stocks. So the most allocation to stocks is when you're young and you have a long time period. And as you approach retirement, the zero line, you'll see those start to decrease and the allocation to bonds will increase in order to preserve what you've built. And then through retirement, you'll still need some growth and some income, which your bonds will offer. The allocation doesn't change as much once you retire. And then their third option, we'll talk a little bit more about how to create your own portfolio, where you're picking and choosing your own mutual funds and you're choosing the asset allocation that you would like. We suggest that you look at a variety of asset classes: large cap stocks, small cap stocks, foreign stocks, U.S. and foreign bonds. And then you want a variety of styles. Large cap stocks, some of them are growthy and some of them are more value oriented or dividend focused. And then also included under styles is an income strategy. Maybe it's from the bond side, but it can also be with some stocks as well. And then a stable value. A stable value is something more similar to cash. And then once you decide your asset classes and styles, you want to figure out how to weight those. What percentage of your portfolio do you want to invest in large cap? How risky do you want to be? Do you want to have more bonds than stocks? So you can either choose to equally weight everything when you're first starting out, and then you might decide to get more strategic as events happen in the economy or as you get closer to retirement. Select funds to fit each category now. You can research all the funds available at places like Morningstar.com, Zacks.com, or Investor.gov. All three of these places offer scoring systems and a way to see which funds perform the best over time compared to their peers and have reasonable fees. You want to remember the reasons why you chose a fund, because that will help you as you review the funds going forward. If you're building your own portfolio, it is important to mark a date on your calendar that you're going to review what you're holding. And if there are reasons maybe to remove or replace a mutual fund in your account. So we look at things as the type of asset class and the style, but then we're going to compare the performance to its peers. So someone who has a similar asset class and style, and then the performance compared to an index. So for a large cap stock, we might compare that to the S&P 500, for example. And then of course, you want to make sure that your fund isn't the most expensive. Let's talk about what this costs. So there are a variety of people helping your plan and your account achieve its goals. First, we have investment managers. These are the people running the mutual funds that you're buying within your account. We have financial advisors like Cox Global Associates. We're plan fiduciary consultants that help select and monitor the investment options that are available to you. And we'll help your company make decisions about its plan. Then we have third-party administrators. These are the people responsible for plan documents, official plan documents, annual reports, and loan or distribution processing. We also have record keepers. They track the flow of money in and out of your plan, things like contributions or matching, and then they create account statements for you. Accountant, they provide audits of plan activities. Depending on the type of company that you are in, sometimes the Department of Labor is requiring a plan audit. Custodians, they provide the safekeeping or the home for the plan assets. Many of the fees associated with your 401k are paid for by your company. There might be a few that the participant or the employee will pay. So those usually paid for by the company are fees for accountants, a financial advisor, the third-party administrator, the record keeper, and the custodial fees. The employee or the participant will pay for the mutual fund-related fees for the investment managers. Sometimes there is a fee related to the financial advisor, depending on the services that you're using. Earlier, I mentioned about setting that date on your calendar to review your portfolio. This is all about account monitoring. Not monitoring your account can really impact whether or not you reach your goal. It's important to revisit the reasons why you bought and are still holding some of your choices, your investment choices. You want to review mutual fund performance compared to peers and a benchmark. Like I mentioned, Morningstar.com, and then you want to visit that fund family's website. For you want to learn more about Capital Group or American funds. Also, part of account monitoring is reviewing the current market environment and how you feel about risk. When you're creating a retirement goal, it's important to keep these questions in mind. Think about if your monthly expenses will decrease, stay the same, or increase when you retire. Will my retirement sources of income cause my tax rate to increase? Will I outlive my savings? Have I thought about long-term care and health care expenses? Do I want to be sure there's money left for my heirs? And what if I haven't saved enough? Another feature of your 401k plan is the offering of loans or early withdrawals. If a plan allows borrowing, a company or the sponsor can limit how much of a participant's account can be borrowed. The IRS has set a maximum of 50% of the account value, or $50,000. Some plans may not allow you to contribute to your account while you have an outstanding loan. Typical terms have a 5-year payback period. Interest rates on these types of loans are pretty attractive, but the amount you borrow will not receive any investment returns. When you leave your job with an outstanding loan, you will be required to pay back the balance in full, or you could face tax penalties for a distribution. Where do you sign up? You can call or email Cody Cox at Cox Global Associates to help you. Cody can help you go through paperwork, the steps to select the right contribution amount, and to select the right investments for you. You can call him at 281-395-8300 or email him at ccox@coxglobalassociates.com. Thank you so much for joining us today, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.